Woo. Harsh language. Harsh language. But, in her defense, um, I've been there before. I know the feeling, getting a hard foul and feeling some type of way. I get it.
Can we all get along?
I know, right? Let's take a time out. Anyway, you seen that, you heard that. So, a first quarter foul in last night's Sky Fever game is now a 5 million view national argument. Here's what actually happened: the play, the post, and the parts that people are kind of conveniently leaving out. So the play, that was Saturday night, first quarter. Sophie Cunningham's ahead of the pack. She's on for a breakaway layup, right? So Carrington chases her down and swipes for the ball. Now, I believe that's what she intended to do. What she actually did was she catches her like across the face and neck area, and Cunningham hits the floor hard, right? The referees review it. They assess her with a Flagrant 2 foul, which comes with an automatic ejection for the night. That's the basketball part, right? And honestly, on its own, hard fouls on breakaways happen every week in every league. And I'm talking about NBA, WNBA, high school, AAU, rec league, all that. Then came the post, because after the ejection, Carrington went to Threads and she posted 2 words: white privilege, and tagged the Fever. And that's the moment it stopped being simply a basketball story or a hard foul story. Cunningham, first off, called the foul intentional and said that Carrington was just trying to get attention. And moreover, rejected the framing flat out. She quotes, "This has nothing to do with race." But here's the detail most of the coverage is burying. And it's the most interesting quote in the entire story. Cunningham's own coach, Stephanie White, said it was indeed a hard foul, but that she didn't believe it was intentional. So the alleged victim's coach gave the most generous read in the room. So sit with that for a minute. So that being the case, why is this at 5 million views, you ask, right? Because it hits every third rail at once: race, officiating, and the Fever's audience wars that turned every Indiana game into some sort of a referendum, landing ironically in the same week as the whole WNBA discourse cyclone, with the guys that are petitioning to join that thing. But more than that, you also have both political sides grabbing this story and using it as some sort of ammunition within the hour. The foul itself only lasted 2 seconds. As of right now, the argument is on day 2. And I'm going to be as objective as I can from this desk. Like I do, you also have the plays to watch, the quotes, and the coach's nuance, right? That's the full picture. Do with it what you will. One rule in my comments: argue the facts, not the player's character. They're athletes, which means they're people, right? They're not avatars for your politics. However, you know how we get down. And before I let you all loose in the comments, I got to get mine first. You know it ain't no fun. You know the song. So indeed, it was a hard foul. At least it looked like a hard foul. And I think regardless of intent, anytime you make contact with a player or any two players, anytime that one player's head neck region is contacted, I think it's a fair expectation to expect to be ejected. Expect a flagrant 2 if you make contact, regardless of race, regardless of gender, regardless of level of play, regardless of country of origin, regardless of religion. That's kind of part of the game at this point. Player safety is held at a premium, and I think it's for good reason. Head injuries are serious, and we aren't privy to maybe the long-term effects of head injuries on these athletes. So with that being said, if they're a little heavy-handed, I mean, I get it, but I didn't see anything, or I don't see anything that makes it obviously more than just a hard foul. I don't see anything that makes it anything racially motivated or racially charged. Now, I didn't watch the whole game. I don't know if there are similar fouls. For example, was there a foul in the game where it was a woman of color, we'll say, doing the same thing, and a player without color, we'll say, did a similar move and hit the other player against upside the head or whatever, and they didn't call a flagrant 2? Same game I'm talking about. I don't want to switch games because if another officiating crew is a little looser, sometimes there is some variation between the groups. Yeah, I believe they try to call it as uniformity with the same consistency as any other game. But I know that can happen to some degree. That's why I say you should expect that. You may not get that, but that's a fair expectation if you hit someone. So anyway, my point is not to keep going over and over, but it seemed pretty straightforward. I don't know what other information maybe Carrington has that she can kind of where she can make her point a little bit more like abundantly clear, because it's kind of like, okay, if it is, then what makes her privileged to get hit upside the head and knocked to the floor? I mean, what's the privilege in that? I don't think that's how white privilege works. I think white privilege would work the other way. If you hit somebody and get away with it. I mean, she got hit pretty hard. I think she went down and somebody got called for a foul. I don't know who was privileged in that. If anybody understands who actually is the winner in that, please explain that, because I don't think there's a winner in that. Just saying, I don't see it if there is one. Now, one thing that I did notice is that it seems like Carrington is kind of annoying. She has like this kind of almost like Dennis Rodman. I'm used to that's my era, Dennis Rodman. So she has that kind of attitude, that kind of personality, which maybe you want to see her get fouled hard, or, get to, get what she got coming to her type of thing. That's cool. I get it. I mean, that's human, right? But that doesn't change the fact of the rules. Like if you're a jerk, you don't have different rules for, the nice player. If you are the annoying Dennis Rodman type player that only wants to get under people's skin and only wants to get a response, the rules don't necessarily change for you, to get what you got, get what you deserve. And that just doesn't work that way. And I don't think that's a racial thing either. I mean, there's been players of different ethnicity, ethnic makeup to be annoying and to have this like tenacity. Yeah, you still can't like beat them up or anything. I mean, you still have to beat them within the construct of the game. So anyway, that's my 2 cents on it. That's where I land. Leave your comments below. This is the Clout Report, where clout gets counted. And once again, announcement, we go live every Monday through Friday at 5 p.m. So we love to have you. So keep that on your calendar. Please like and subscribe to be made aware of what else we have going on. Thanks for watching. Peace.